Hey everyone, welcome to Neighborhood Watch. I'm your host, Michael Yanis. Today we are joined by Jared. What's up, Jared?
Not much. Still, I'm really building on this education. This is the third educated iteration, I feel. It's doing
I'm
good.
glad you. I'm glad you're in this for the self benefit. Like
Of course.
I feel like I'm kind of in it for the historical. Like I'm simply the vessel through which this
Uh-huh.
must be done.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I'm doing God's work, is what I'm
You're
saying.
doing, you are a holy symbol. I mean, the way I see it, I might as well, I don't know my alphabet fully. I don't know how to count all the way. And I think, going back to the drawing board, starting from these basics is really how I'm gonna get good.
Some might call what you're doing selfish, but I see the value in it. I'm glad you're taking the time for self betterment.
Of course, I mean, those who would critique me as selfish don't understand that everything that I take in here is what I'm giving back. You know, I'm doing this for the people. This is by popular demand.
Yeah, I get countless letters telling me that this needs to be done.
I'm Gandhi. I'm uh I'm Gandhi.
This episode was episode 1285.
Jesus.
Grover the Waiter at your service. This one aired in 1979, and we recently just discovered right before we recorded we were watching the credits, and I made note of for the first time who played the role of Gordon, our favorite. It turns out this is the third Gordon.
Third iteration. The torch has been passed.
There were two other Gordons that we didn't even notice.
I mean, props to them, right?
Yeah,
To be
they
able
did
to.
a nice casting.
He was bald this time, and that kind of threw me off. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
you hadn't seen Bald Gordon before.
I still would have assumed that it's exactly the same guy. They did a good job casting.
Right, we're coming up on 1980. It would have been totally believable if someone lost their mutton chops in that transition. But no, it's a new guy. All right, so the framing, the sort of continuing story that we're picking up on the structure of Sesame Street now. They have like one continuing story, usually focused on the human characters.
Right.
This time it was the main cast: Gordon, Luis, David, and I think it was like her name was Buffy, I think. Yeah, they're having like a little exercise, little club.
They're doing some jumping jacks in the beginning. Um, then they transition into the natural running in a circle. It's
Yeah, a very small, very small circle.
granted a very small circle, and they're all the entirety of the time that they're exercising, they're all talking about it.
Yeah,
These are good. This is good jumping jacks. We're doing good. Like all four at once. It's very jarring. It's not.
it's not exercising. It's if you were playing charades and you were told to mime exercising, this is what you would do. But they're good. They've got good chemistry still. I love the human people for as much as I love the Muppets. So yeah, they get locked up there because of the building inspector apparently came up and saw that the door was unlocked. So
Right.
he came up and locked it.
And he iterated this multiple times to nobody in particular. Um, he was walking out of the building at the bottom, saying, "Well, I'm the building inspector. I locked the door. That's what should be done. We don't want hooligans coming in because I'm the building inspector, and that's my job to lock doors." And it was like, "All right, buddy."
Thank God that Muppets have a proclivity for talking to themselves, especially saying out loud their names and roles.
I am, I am the building expositionist. That is my job. Yeah.
All right, we go into a little animation of a typewriter who types the letter U on them, which is our first sponsor for the day.
Really, I'm really glad that these letters, big letters. These aren't your small town letters are still coming through for a show like Sesame Street that got them big in the first place. I mean, I
Yeah,
still remember when W was a nobody. He was attacking Kermit the Frog as a goof, and I mean now look where he is. Water, wind. These are major words.
yeah. When you look at you can see it now that we're in 2015. You can see that the impact that Sesame Street had in getting these letters out into the public eye.
Definitely.
Yeah, the typewriter types a U. He takes out an umbrella. That's pretty cool. Then we have this little scene with Ernie, who's walking down the sort of Muppet Street.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, and he's pulled aside by this shady looking Muppet character.
Trench coat, bowler hat, full on like, hey, you want to buy something? You know?
What are you buying? He's trying to sell off a family treasure. He's told us, and it's a letter U.
Been in his family for years.
For years. We couldn't figure out what this U was made out of because it's not like an animated U.
But it might have been. Okay, so at various points the Muppets interacted with the U. He turned it into a V, and it didn't look like something that was real. You know, the way it moved, kind of like the bottom part moved, it seemed elastic, but then the top parts of it, the parts where it swooped down, did not change no matter what. And so I figured it was animated. But then, like, later on, they pulled the bottom part upwards, and it swung like a real rope. It was it's very weird and jarring.
Henson's got those practical effects, man. You can see why he was the best in the biz.
Best in the biz. They called him, have no idea what that is, Henson.
Ernie does not have any use for you. He did have a use for a V yesterday, and that makes our little shady character think, oh, I'm gonna try and push this U on him as a V, and then he like pulls it down to like make it pointy, turns it into a V. But Ernie doesn't need the V anymore because he remembers that vegetable starts with V now. Because that's how I remember how words are spelled. I have, like, in my room right now, I have, what do I have right now? I have a B,
right.
I have an S, I have a couple G's. I get lost on G's a lot, so I have a couple G's.
Just various sizes and shapes throughout the room.
Yeah, just in case, like, if I ever forget, like, what gopher starts with. Because I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and I'll have, like, a panic attack thinking about, oh God, what does golf start with?
That's how he was pushing the U and the V on Ernie. You know, Ernie's like, well, what would I do with the U? And I thought that was a very good question. The guy says, well, you know, maybe you're sleeping one night and you wake up and you think, God, what does the word up start with? And you can't sleep because of it. You look at your U, you know it's a U. And Bertie kind of accepted that. He's like, you know what, you're right. That's definitely, yeah. So
10 cents. That's the asking price.
Really expensive, I have to say, for what was very clearly a U 10 seconds ago.
Yeah. But Ernie's not in the market for a U or a V. He's going to other services because he's looking for a W.
Right.
And so our little trench coat guy, he's kind of like messing with like the letter and like tries to turn it into a W. But, you know, what are you going to do? Then we have the flamingos. There's a lot of flamingos. I feel like they're kind of overrepresented, in my opinion.
We've got a minority of like dodo birds.
Yeah, like I get that they're cool. Like they got like the backwards like knees.
They drink upside down.
Yes, as was clearly pointed out to us. There's a lot more like talking, what do you call it? Like dubbing over of clips this time. Like there's a lot less of just music and stuff. Like it was either a song with words or there was some narration going on above it.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting.
Usually a child's narration.
Yeah, a kid or like a group of kids like shouting out stuff.
or one kid kind of half drunkenly shouting out stuff. This is flamingo. They drink upside down. It's good.
But yeah, no offense to flamingos. I just think there's more out there. Like expand your horizons a little bit. Come on.
More to life than flamingos.
Yeah. After that, we go back to the rain. It starts raining on them. It really looked uncomfortable. Like I imagine that set was probably like not like the greatest, and like you're covered with this gross like indoor water.
Indoor water. It's
Yeah.
like from an old rusty hose.
It did not look pleasant for the actors.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like it seemed like a long time that they were out there, but but that was mostly, I think, because of how they had to, like, they separated the clips with other things. So, like, realistically, they were only wiped for, like, 5 minutes, you know?
Hmm.
But I don't know. They didn't seem happy about it. One guy was starting to break. I've seen Castaway relatively recently, so I was drawing some parallels there. It was very, like, he's like, okay, well, we gotta pour the dirt. Just pour the dirt. We gotta wake up Oscar, you know?
Yeah. I enjoyed it actually. Like I thought, like it's a very. I liked that it was in one place and it just kind of explored the characters a little more
Hmm.
instead of like focusing on like, oh, here's a weird new Muppet.
Right.
I think comparing this to like some of the other ongoing skits that would happen in episodes, I like this one. I think this is maybe not the best execution, but at least like the best sort of presentation of it.
Sure.
Yeah. Then we had Ernie and Bert. They have a note. Ernie has a note that he needs to give Bert. Very important.
A little handwritten note.
Yeah, but he can't remember what was written on it, so he's got to find it first.
And
So it's about 2 minutes of just throwing things around the set.
like, oh, I think I left it in my toy chest, and then toys being hurled left and right, and Bert dodging like crazy and staring at him. It's good, and he's trying to stop Ernie the whole time. He's like, Ernie, just stop, just don't. You're throwing things everywhere. Like, don't you remember what it said? He's like, if I remember what it said, I wouldn't have to write it down.
Bert's at that perfect like balance of annoyed with Ernie and wants him to stop, but understands Ernie enough and like is willing to let him play along. Like he's always on the brink of like an outburst of just grabbing Ernie and stopping him, but he never does, which is nice.
And good on him. Not.
Then we had the recycling montage of a girl with a wagon who's going around collecting old newspapers.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's this little boy that's running around following her.
Yeah, it was something. And I was wondering, like, is that what life was for kids back then? Like, oh, be right back. I'm gonna take my toy wagon. I'm gonna take some papers down the recycling mill.
It was very bleak.
Yeah.
Because like all this like industrial imagery and like it's not the best looking city, you know. And he's going around like there's a bunch of like trash everywhere. He's picking it up. And then I was concerned about the kid because like there's like some serious like industrial work going on. Like there's fumes everywhere. There's big equipment, and there's this kid just running around, just hanging out.
Like
No
if she had walked up and like, oh, what's this? And like put her hand on a thing and like lost her arm, you know.
Yeah, that's some serious recycling. Then we had the up animation. It was about 5 seconds of a guy climbing on the word up. And then someone asks him, "What's up?" He says, "Me." Not important. Then we get another rain segment. Was there anything worthwhile in this? I just wrote rain again.
I mean, it's the same like madness of like we're stuck up here. They tried a bunch of different things, calling out to neighbors. They found Big Bird on the ground. They were pouring mud onto Oscar the Grouch.
Right. Then we had Waiter Grover, which I think was the best scene.
Waiter Grover was some good stuff.
Grover may be my favorite Muppet.
I don't think I've ever encountered him before.
Ah, he's great, as you could see. So we've got the customer sitting at the table, and Grover is his waiter. And Grover's an excellent waiter. He goes up, "Do you want the small burger or the big burger?" And the guy wants the small burger because that's what Grover recommends. He's like, "You're gonna want the small burger."
If I may say.
You look like a small burger man to me. So he goes in the back and he gets out and he brings back this tiny little like finger burger thing. And it's too small, of course it is.
It's like it's a single slider. It's like a tiny little.
Yeah.
And they're talking about it for a little while. The guy orders the meat extra rare.
Yes.
And Grover's kind of pitching it to the guy like, rare burger. And he's like, it's a little small. So he goes to send it back.
It's not enough to feed a flea.
Fucking Grover.
So yeah, he sends it back because he doesn't want, because Grover's like, look, we can just get you more of these. You know, 3,
3,
4, 5.
however many you need. Just because, just don't order the big burger. We've been having trouble with the big burger.
But then we get into a conflict because this customer, he's not having it anymore. He wants what he wants. He knows what he wants. Who's this waiter to tell him what he wants?
I'm my own man.
I want the big burger. Grover obliges, and then
Mid rant. This guy is mid rant. Like, I know what I want. I want the big burger. And this rumbling starts coming from the back room, and the guy's like slowly like, a big burger.
the camera's like close up on his face, on his dumb Muppet face. He's like, oh, big burger.
And Grover very suddenly bursts through the wall with a burger larger than the table. And there's like screaming, people are dying.
It's great. The camera's like shaking all around.
There's a giant hole in the wall. Like, the door could have opened, but instead it broke. Like, it smashed open. And the guy's like hiding under the table, and Grover's like, "One big burger."
Yeah, I think Grover's the best at that kind of thing.
Is he always a waiter? Is that his deal?
No, this was an original.
Okay,
He's playing the part of a waiter,
got it.
in my opinion. Then we go on to another favorite, the pinball number count for number 2.
Oh, dude. It still goes all the way to 12, though. And that's the important part.
Yes, yeah. Then we have the 2 animals, 2 birds. These were like... These birds kind of caught us off guard a little bit. Because they're like looking everywhere. They're like copying each other.
It was like if they were trying, like, the music was pretty serene. It was like, oh, 2 birds, right? And you'd imagine, like, 2 birds are just like 2 birds sitting in a field, or they had a couple geese, so they were like on the water. It's like, you'd think it'd be like, oh, 2 serene birds chilling, not doing anything. They were like flinching, ducking under the water. Just like if you were trying to find peaceful birds, you did not find it correctly, you know?
After that, that's when they did the pour mud on Oscar, which doesn't work, of course, because he's Oscar the flippin' Grouch. He likes mud. He's gonna make some mud pies. Was that David's idea?
I don't remember which is which.
It sounds like a David's idea. It's not a very good idea.
It's fucking David.
Fucking David. Then we had the Russian nesting dolls counting scene, which is really just the laziest of counting scenes.
Of all things to count, right? They just like whoever, like, they sent out a memo to the cast and crew. Anybody have something we can count? Russian nesting dolls. We got anybody got like a thing of M&Ms?
Yeah, that's gonna wear thin pretty soon. It's really starting to the novelty of counting things that are the same. But we're here for you. We're sticking through it. Then we had oh my god, this was the worst scene maybe ever.
Maybe ever.
Yeah, it was the bugs with the stamp.
Oh yeah. Gross.
This was
and
the worst.
And
yeah. The real problem was that they had like the chipmunk-ified voices, pitched up 5 octaves after the fact.
Like, it could have been Buddy and Jim. It could have been Buddy and Jim, and it would have been great,
That would have been fine, yeah. Because like it was the same thing, but clearly some writers thinking, oh, we gotta make it modern. We can't have 2 old dudes anymore. We gotta make them like these crazy ass bug giant Muppet things with like those weird eyeballs that like don't have a back to them.
And they were trying to get a stamp up on the wall, and the stamp was like it was like George Washington, but he was weird. He had like a dumb smile on his face, and it was like, that's not George Washington.
Yeah. That's another one of those things that I would like to have framed in my room. Is that dumb picture of George Washington.
One of many Sesame Street niches.
Yes. We got the duck, and then I also want what Bert and Ernie have in their room, their painting of themselves.
Oh, that's good.
I want that too. Then we had the Ugly You animation, where a guy just takes off a mask and says he's ugly.
Well, no, but the way around was like, you ugly, and I'm like, wait a minute.
it could be interpreted as an identification on the viewer.
Right.
I felt it was justified for him being ugly because it wasn't like just an ugly guy, it was like a monster guy.
Right. Right.
So they were careful. They were good about that. Then Luis starts counting in Spanish. He's one of the human characters. We're back on the roof.
Right. And for a show that is very much counting centric, I could see where some would be confused of like, why are we moving on to Spanish? What's this about? You know?
Sure, yeah, I suppose. Maybe if the kids haven't mastered counting yet and they're suddenly getting like a new set of numbers. Is it like 20 numbers now?
I mean, then again, right? We're on episode 1285.
I should hope you should at least understand the split between English and Spanish. Understand that this is a dichotomy that you must understand.
We've been counting to 12 for over 1,000 episodes. For over 1,200 episodes, in fact.
After this was Salvador Dada, a prolific painter of abstract art. Not a reference I was expecting. I'm sad we don't have our friend Russ here. I know he seems
art history enthusiast.
He seems like the kind of guy they would love a good Dadaism reference in his Muppets.
I mean, who doesn't really? You know?
Yeah. So he names his painting after the number of splotches that are in them.
Oh, there you go.
And I was afraid. I was afraid at first that this was going to take, one of the traditional like anti-modern art stances.
Right.
I felt like that seemed like territory that Sesame Street is not afraid of going to, but they didn't go for it, which was good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you yourself are a little, I think, against modern art. I mean, let me get this straight. You don't like Shia LaBeouf's whole thing with post-meta modernism.
Well, that's a specific case. I think he's just like a dumb guy.
Friend.
What was it? The number of splotches.
Right.
That's what they're.
Well, seemingly, like the guy who was hanging the paintings was portrayed as a guy who knew nothing about art. He was just like, "Hey, what do you want these paintings, man?" You know.
Yeah.
And so he noticed a pattern in naming them. So he was going to put all the different names on the walls for the different paintings, and so the one that had 2 splotches was named 2, the one that had 3 splotches was named 3, so on and so forth, all the way up to 4. And he goes, I think I get it. This last painting, this one with 5 splotches, is going to be named 5. And
Salvador Dada does not comply to your patterns that society has imposed on him. That one was named
Chicken Soup.
Chicken Soup.
And then Salvador Dada and the security guard had a little slapstick, na 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 na, yeah, and they're like dancing.
That seems to be Sesame Street's maybe taken a little too many of those, in my opinion.
Too many, never enough.
Just the equivalent of the punchline is nonsense, and then the equivalent of a rim shot with some puppets that do a little dance. Then we had the only returning animation. Was the mouse remembering where he put his pet scene.
Right.
I could not stand this the first time. I could not stand it even more the second time because the freaking mouse has the most annoying voice. It's his.
They're making good use of what they have. You know, they're using the voice modulation when they can.
Oh, it's his flipping. He just has this, so talking slow to kids. Like if you were to. That's what a bad actor would do when asked to talk to kids.
Right. Have you seen my pet mouse? Like, oh.
It's like walking back through your mind. I can't stand it. I don't think kids like it either. I think Sesame Street has made a critical error in airing this twice.
I think if I had a little cousin, he would agree with me that mouse is dumb.
I like to think I speak for all kids when I say. After that, we had the next idea from our trapped group up on the roof. They're gonna send out a pigeon with a note. He saw it in a movie once. That's David's big thing. He sees things in movies and he wants to try them because he thinks they'll work.
Is that a recurring thing with Dave? I've never seen Dave before.
I do think David had something like that before, where he.
Okay.
He brought it up.
Movie guy Dave. He's actually a film snob. That's why the original Gordon left. He couldn't handle it.
Yeah, you wouldn't guess, but he was constantly like berating him by like all these like deep cuts of artistic movies.
And he's like really against Forrest Gump for some reason. Doesn't like Tom Hanks in general. It's a big thing.
Well, that's like a normal. That's like the right thing to think.
I think it would be the right thing to think if it weren't such a critically acclaimed movie and everybody liked it except for one guy who started a podcast.
We'll save that for another podcast, all you idiots that like Forrest Gump.
All you normal human beings who enjoy good movies.
You just gotta stop feeling with your heart.
So, David. Pigeons.
David wants to send out a pigeon with a note, but the note... The pigeons, they live on the roof. Their coop is right next to them.
So when he sends them to go home to get help, it just walks 20 feet.
Yeah, it just hops over. It doesn't even fly.
It's like, what do you want me to do here? What am I doing? What's the plan?
Yeah. Then we had the Salute to You. Just another animation going through some words that start with U.
Oh, yeah. But, okay, so this guy was using some big ol' U words. We had universal, uranium.
Uranium was a weird cut.
Yeah.
Because he was like searching for it with like a metal detector.
Like he'd just find it in the ground. I mean, like, consider when did this come out? 1980 something.
1979.
Okay. When was the Manhattan Project? Was that?
That would have been a little while earlier,
okay.
given the conclusion of a certain world war.
Got it. I mean, maybe they're trying to make it commonplace, like, oh, uranium. It's like, what 5-year-old? Like, yeah, of course. I mean, what else are we gonna power the reactors with?
Then we had this one was good. This was the vet song, the pet song.
Pet doctor.
Yeah, it was a good little tune. Every once in a while they have like a little. It's not just fill in the blanks with what's going on screen song.
Right.
It's an actual like groovy little tune.
Yeah.
And the doctor was like nice, personable to the kids who were bringing in their dog.
Like asking them questions that a doctor would ask, like the normal owners, that I think is more than likely necessary information to diagnosing the dog, but they're kids, so it's like, is she eating well? Yeah, probably. Oh.
Yeah, these kids are like 6 maybe, so.
I mean, at least they weren't throwing everything back in her face. Maybe
that's true.
Maybe that's why Gordon left. He couldn't deal with the child actors.
Couldn't stand the kids. When he was signing up for Sesame Street casting, he thought this was going to be a real mature production.
Puppets only. You don't have to. Yeah. Gordon was not a good elementary school teacher in his short career as that.
Then we had the U guitar. A guy has a letter U, and he's like, oh, it's useful for a lot of things, like use, but I like to play it like a guitar.
And then and he followed that statement with, I would say, 20 seconds of playing, which does not seem like a lot in hindsight, but at the time it's like, and it just kind of kept going. It's like,
it was just nonsense.
Moving on.
Yep.
Play it like a guitar.
Was there anything else? The theater without words. That was bad.
That was pretty bad. That's another one of those. All right, we got a couple minutes to fill.
Yeah, we've got this modern amateur mime on set. Let's let them do their work.
Cheryl does miming on the weekends. She does those one woman shows, right? She'd be down to perform.
She took a class. Let's let her.
She at the YMCA.
So she acts out like a farmer and a seed, which is really confusing because like she's 2 characters and one of them is a seed.
And one of them is most definitely just a seed.
Seeds, contrary to popular belief, not a lot of character.
Not a lot. Where one would think, when you're picking your roles for the play, like, oh, dude, I gotta have my lead guy on seed. No, you don't. No, you do not.
Yeah, the casting auditions for the theater production of Jack and the Beanstalk. If you get the part of the Beanstalk, then you should not be happy about that.
Hey, look, I get to curl up on the ground and then like stand up and put my arms up. So you don't understand this beanstalk.
There's a lot of
I've got bigger places to grow to.
nice. Then we had a bunch of things that are smaller and bigger than each other.
Including, but not limited to, a person, a smaller than that person, bugs smaller than him, flamingos that like lift up one leg and use it as a crank to extend their other leg.
Yep. Some guys on stilts.
Some
some
guys
monsters.
on stilts. Yeah, no, it was an elephant and then a mouse. It kind of turned into a pissing contest of like, I'm bigger, you're smaller, you know?
Then we had the kid drum line, just out in the field.
Yeah, full marching band uniform, full everything, batons.
Batons, cymbals. I think someone was playing the drums. They seemed a little young. They probably were not. They probably did not have impeccable technique.
Speak for yourself, Michael. They could have been a drum corps. Basic hashtag, basically Blue Devils, BBD. Yeah, I don't really remember what the point was.
They made a square at the end.
They made a square, but then they all said something, and I missed it, and I was like, all right, I guess, all right,
I think more professional drum corps should incorporate about 90% mini cymbals as instruments.
Just hit them one at a time. Just this pace. Just keep going. Don't do that. Stop what you're doing. Walk in time. I mean, there must have been a decent amount of effort gone through to do all that, to get all the uniforms and get all the kids like ready and knowing what they're doing. And for all that effort, it was a 30-second goof. I don't know. It didn't seem like it was worth the effort in the end.
Most things don't on Sesame Street, to be honest.
The payout in the end was not too high.
That's what makes Sesame Street Sesame Street. They got an hour. They fill an hour with a bunch of different stuff.
With
and some
nothing.
Things...
They fill an hour with nonsense. Reiterate
I
that.
like the nonsense.
The nonsense is what keeps me going.
Yeah. Big Bird is nearby the scene with the roof and the rain.
Oh yeah.
And they actually get Big Bird's attention by just yelling at him, which is a little frustrating because I was really not looking forward to the answer to the solution just being yelling at people.
Yeah.
I wanted some sort of random creative thing.
I mean, they fooled you though. Like they had Big Bird start to come up, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, it's cool." But he's like, "Oh, they're having a party. I wasn't invited. I don't want to crash their party." And he left, and he just walked away. And I was like, "Okay, so they're gonna keep going." But then later on, as it turns out, Big Bird did come back and like, "Hey, I do want a party."
Yeah, that was frustrating.
A little. Oh, please complain about the story direction of Sesame Street.
Well, like if you've got your big scripted sequence, and not only is your resolution that Big Bird changes his mind, but the solution comes after they give up. Like what are you teaching? Like the minute that they sit down and say, "Oh, we'll just wait for someone to come save us," boom, the door opens. There's a giant yellow bird to save the day. That's garbage.
A little bit. But at the same time, the purpose of Sesame Street is not to construct a masterful narrative.
That's no excuse.
It's no... If I don't see a hero's journey and the Odyssey every episode...
I'm just saying, you're not... Give it a little... Like, come on and try something.
You know
like,
who else had an hour
fly.
to fill every episode? Breaking Bad.
Yeah, for real. Come on.
Let's get some higher... Look, here's how...
Kill a Muppet. Kill a Muppet.
Kill a Muppet. Here's how Sesame Street could do better. Hire Vince Gilligan.
It's been 1,000 episodes, not one Muppet has died. That's just lazy storytelling.
These kids are not ready for loss. Look, they've already gone through 3 Gordons and they have no clue. You know what it's going to be like to explain that to them? You know this Gordon? Not the original Gordon.
That was probably an issue for a while. Like Gordon would say action, and Gordon would be like, "Hey kids, gather around," and they'd be like, "That's not Gordon," and they'd have to cut, and they're like, "No, look, it's fake. I'm an actor. I'm trying to make a living wage."
Gordon's name wasn't even Gordon. His name was like Robert or some shit. I don't know. Just go with it, kid.
All right. Then we had the barbershop trio. They were good.
Oh yeah.
That's nice.
No, it was cool. It was like a basic explanation of like musical harmony. Like that's awesome. Of like, I sing the high parts, I sing the mid parts, I sing the low parts. When we put them all together, it's a song. You know, that was cool.
Yeah. They didn't sound. I don't think they sounded great, to be honest.
No, I couldn't really tell what they were. It was not.
Yeah.
I mean, like the biggest problem is like it wasn't balanced, I guess.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like an actual barbershop quartet. It was just like 3 guys saying something that kind of sounded like the same thing.
Yeah. But good attempt.
Sure.
I wanted to like it a lot.
I really did want to like have some beautiful barbershop quartet, 4-part harmony, something or other. I don't know.
Yeah, because that seems like right up Sesame Street's alley.
Yeah. They're usually pretty musical.
Yeah. Then you had oh, this was good. This was really good. Bus.
It started out with the lowest possible tone they could have produced on like a synthesized instrument of like this really ominous like, and it slowly got higher and higher. If you can take it from here, I don't know how to go on.
It was a super like there was like this like circle on the screen with like colors, and then it like splits and like divides again, and there's like half circles and like quarter circles and like flipping around and all this stuff, and then they form this abstract like little pattern, and then I gotta give credit to you. You call it out before it appears on screen. You suss out what the pattern is.
Bus.
You say bus.
Like that, exactly.
And then bus appears, and you got it because it kind of looked like the word bus.
Yeah, not like a bus.
Yeah, not like a bus. That would be impressive. Then we go on to some hot garbage. Time to plant the beans.
Some hot garbage.
This was awful.
It's very, very optimistic about this. Oh God. I mean, it wasn't good. It was kind of like they were trying to resurrect the magic of the first episode with the cows.
Yeah, but that was not magical either.
But they planned it, and it was like
it's episode 1285, and they're still doing sing about the stuff on the screen. Here's a bunch of beans. Look at all the beans. Beans are green. Eating all the beans.
And then they always like try to tie it back to like ever wonder where beans in the store come from. They showed like a little kid digging his fucking hands into the giant thing of beans.
I hate being so hard on Sesame Street. It hurts me.
Hey man, look, I get it, but how is it gonna get better?
We gotta hold them to a higher standard.
If we don't,
because we know what they're capable of.
if we don't critique what they did 40 years ago.
Who's gonna keep these people honest?
Public broadcasting service, more like people boo stupid.
Yeah. All right.
Tell 'em.
Us on bus. Some kids on a bus. Little animation.
Hey, yeah.
Whatever. Then we had Hat. This was an assault on the senses.
Oh God. So it used freeze frame black and white photos of a little girl of various emotions. It felt like I've only ever seen 6 minutes of an episode of American Horror Story. It felt like American Horror Story. It was very uncanny, and like she jumped around a lot, and it was like oh God.
It was very, if you were to jump into someone's hyperactive imagination, that's a little off, that's a little disturbed. This is what it's like.
Was this PBS's insight to schizophrenia? Was that what they were going for? Because I would buy it.
I would not buy a hat.
I would not. I no longer want to buy a hat. She was trying on different types of hats. She would like jump around a lot, and then suddenly she'd be wearing a hat, and she'd be like, "Hat!" And she would do it again.
Hat? Bunch of different like very like disturbing inflections on the like hat. It was frightening.
Yeah, I definitely feared for my life a little bit with that segment. Thought I'd
Yeah,
never see my mom again. It's okay. I'm still here.
that's a valid interpretation. After that, we had the conclusion of the Rain saga, as I'm going to call it.
Hmm.
Yeah, they start to Luis starts to sing a song, and everyone like groups in because they've given up hope.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
very
yeah. It was very bleak. It was like it's over. We're done.
yeah they had because it was like a it was a happy song. It was they've given up and they've kind of lost it at this point.
Wilson.
But sure enough, Big Bird's there to save the day.
His charges on through the door. Here now.
For a moment, they lock Big Bird up on the roof.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was good because it was like, well, I mean, I guess I kind of saw it coming. I was like, okay, he's gonna be on the roof still talking, and they're all gone. But
Yeah.
and I thought that they were gonna end the episode like wah wah, you know. But they went back up and like, oh, okay, we got him. We're good.
Yeah, it was such a weird like
Back
this is
and
probably
forth.
gonna happen. Yeah.
And then like after that, they were sitting in like a cafe drinking like warm something, and Big Bird was like, man, you guys really would have been stuck up there, huh? Okay,
It was
maybe
a really yeah.
maybe Big Bird gets a little more respect from now on, you know?
Maybe people stop walking into my nest without being invited, huh? Not just an open door policy, huh?
Maybe we start bringing Big Bird to parties.
Maybe. Maybe. Poor Big Bird. Then we have
Or
two little dolls.
dumb old Big Bird. Oh yeah, 2 dolls on 2 girls in a little doll house.
That's a good song. I liked it.
It was good until the cat overlord showed up.
That was
That
awesome.
was fucking great. No, okay. So it was these 2 little girls playing with 2 little dolls, and it was a song
Yeah.
about that, and they put 2 little plates in front of them, then they each got 2 little teacups, and then they were 2 little sleepy heads, and they were put into 2 little beds, and then there was just like a cat in the background, and then there were like 2 cats, and like cats fucking leaped through the window of the dollhouse.
Fucking cats.
It was like cats take over, cats obey. It was like, oh my god,
Just knocking everything over.
just destroying shit.
Ugh. V in space.
Oh God, it was. Oh my God. Okay, so there's no explanation. Just straight up a V, like the letter V zooming through the stars, and like V, V, V,
Not any
V.
words that like start with V.
V.
Not any like.
V. Yeah, and it was like, all right, and then it showed V landing on a planet. And it was,
It didn't even land on Venus.
oh shit.
What the fuck?
This is, you know what? As the people who hold Sesame Street to a standard, this is our failing. You know,
You're right.
we could have stopped this.
You're right.
But-
I feel ashamed.
I'd like to make a public apology to all the audience. But yeah, no, it was, and then they just kind of moved on, and that's kind of how Sesame Street has been thus far. Of like weird skit that's kind of like off the wall, and then on to something else, and it moved on to the guy who stands on the U. I think I don't quite remember.
We had the apple pie.
Apple
first.
pie, leathery shoe apple pie.
Yeah, God, that apple. Okay, so Bert and Ernie, Ernie and Bert. Ernie's got 2 slices of apple pie that look just like brown slop.
A shoe.
A shoe.
It might as well have been a leather shoe.
I can't even imagine how you get apple pie to look that bad. Like it didn't look fake, but it didn't look real either.
Or good. Or edible.
Or good.
Or like apple pie in any sense of the word.
It didn't look acceptable. This was unacceptable apple pie.
I wanted it to be like, where I thought the skit was going to go was like, Ernie was like, hey, you want some apple pie? And Bert's like, why would I eat that apple pie? And then he explains to Ernie the aesthetic of food. No, it was Ernie offered him a slice, and there's 2 slices, and one is pretty clearly bigger than the other. Actually, one was not clearly bigger than the other. It was such a weird angle, I couldn't quite tell which was...
That was another issue. It was because like the focus of the scene is that one's big and one's small. It didn't even look like that big a deal.
And so Ernie offers him a piece of pie, and so Bert says yes, and Ernie considers his options and takes the bigger piece, and Bert in a huff, Ernie, that's not polite. And Ernie is being pretty objective, like, I don't see what the problem is. This is my pie. I gave you the small slice. What's wrong? You know.
Yeah.
And so Bert puts forth, well, if I had 2 slices of pie, I would give you the bigger one, and I would have the small one. And Ernie says, well, you do have the small one, Bert. And then that's when they cut to the one.
Yep. The fucking apple pie.
I'd
Disgusting.
like to think that Jim Henderson offered someone a piece of pie recently, and they were like, well, I want the big piece. And he's like, well, what's the problem? You would have the small piece anyway. And he was like making a point. He was like teaching it to the kids so that all the kids in the United States agree with him.
I like to think, what if it's the other way? What if it's like Jim Henson was like the Steve Jobs type, and like he didn't even like pick up, like he was Ernie, and like one of the writers is like trying to subtly like, nudge him, like, hey dude, like not cool, bro.
Give me the fucking pie. It's good.
But Jim's like, no, why would I give you the big one? Like,
if I get
like
choice, and it's my pie, I get the big piece.
Jim Henson's just a giant child.
Yeah, that's why he makes these shows.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Utmost respect for Jim Henson. We're not bashing him in any way. We've watched some of his other work.
We did. Maybe we should bring that up.
What was it called? The Room?
The Room, The Cube, something like
Cube.
that.
Something. Yeah, I remember the word cube.
So it was like an experimental film.
It's on YouTube. You should definitely
directed.
watch it. Check it out.
No, you shouldn't though.
No, it's great. It's really not bad in any sense of the word.
No, it's like if I were to make a parody of an experimental film, this is what I would make. It's meaningless, self-reflective garbage.
Yeah, well, it's also 2015, Michael. That was 1969. Look.
It was not that long ago.
Look.
In terms of...
It was 1806 when he made that movie.
Which is really impressive because they had
did not
technology.
have film tech, yeah.
It was a really historic moment for all of history.
Anyway.
Anyway, don't watch the Cube. Maybe watch like 5 minutes of it.
Check out the
kind
Cube.
Of scrub through it.
10 out of 10 movie of the century.
Okay. Then we had the violin scene, animation thing. Really run out of things to say about these little 10-second animations because they're just nothing.
They're just nothing. Like we discussed this mid-episode whether child psychology was a thing at the time. How much of Sesame Street is down to a T and like scientifically figured out and like this is what's good for kids, this is what helps them learn, and how much of it is fuck it, put a violin in, you know?
Because it could be either one. It could be that like scientists have like figured out that okay, at this point we need 21 seconds of no talking, music, animation, watercolored.
This is what engages a young child's mind, and it could totally be like, what do we have on hand? Watercolors. Okay, do it. You know.
Or it could just be we have this little gap right here that we need to put something in.
Space to
Can
fill.
someone make some more nothing?
we have not had enough nothing this episode.
We're running out of nothing. Whatever. I'm not gonna make fun of. I need to dial back them making fun of Sesame Street because it's a children.
Is that not what this podcast was?
No, you're right. Fuck Sesame Street.
Jesus, Michael.
Oh, is there something? Should I like in the middle?
Sure. Look.
Okay.
What happened next?
That was the end.
Oh.
Then we had the hot chocolate scene, and then we're done. So sponsors, UV and 2.
Classic.
For those of you keeping track at home.
2 really blown up this year. Lots of 2s going around.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2015, year of the 2.
You're Luigi. You're the big butt. You're the 2.
You're the butt. That was 2014. Year of the butt's over.
What? Oh shit. You're the butt was the Chinese calendar one, right? That was the.
Yes. Yeah. I believe this year is. Ironically, it's the year of the donkey.
Oh.
It's funny how those get like their own separate. You'd think.
Yeah. They would combine.
They would have. Yeah, but no. It's It's very separate. They don't. It's like a different language. Like they didn't have.
Right. They don't know.
Yeah, that would make sense. So yeah, any closing thoughts?
I'm surprised. I'm beginning to question how they did it for this long. You know.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
This is episode 8 and we're tired. They're on episode 1285 and they're tired. Well, they're not. They're keeping going. What the hell am I saying?
Are they really still going? Is that...
Oh, hell yeah. Don't stop for anything.
Don't
Sesame Street is going to outlive me.
never give up.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for Neighborhood Watch. I hope you've enjoyed this exhaustive, complete...
Exhausting.
We won't stop. Nothing will stop. We had a little blip last week. We couldn't get an episode in, but don't take that for us.
As word of the great Miley Cyrus, we can't stop. We won't stop.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Twerk.
Gung Hei Fat Choi.
Gung Hei. You're the bud.
Alright. Just dumb.
So dumb.